So, all right, let's kick off for the next panel. We are a little bit delayed, but I heard we have still 30 minutes to take the conversation on the panel today. So we still have some people coming in. Maybe let's wait 1 or 2 seconds to join. So today we have the topic breaking barriers, women in leadership shaping the future of business and healthcare. I have 3 amazing experts on the panel with me from all different kind of backgrounds, from startup, large corporation, and also advising companies. The goal of today's conversation is to give an insight of what is happening in large corporations, how they have transformed in the past with leaderships. On the other side, we also want to look into the future, what kind of projects and products exist and how they can be influenced by leaders. And then, of course, at the end, we have an outlook and give some advice to future leaders and also to leaders which are currently in place and maybe want to change something. If you have some questions, you can ask the questions at the end of the panel. We have some time reserved for that. So starting with the person on my left, from your right, Christina Bischops-Kaltenbach. She has over 30 years of experience working in large corporations at Roche, doing innovations in clinical development, patient safety, and drug safety development. Currently, or just recently, she became a GP of a new fund, working together with the King Baudouin Foundation to promote equal and inclusive female education worldwide. Christina has worked all over the globe. I think, 90 plus was told to me, 90 plus countries where she was. And okay, responsible for. Okay, but it's quite a lot. And yeah, she's really looking into investment and philanthropy. Thank you very much for being here. And we also share some, let's say, personal overlaps. She's part of the Women for the Board organization, which was founded in 2021, which has now about 500 members. And we also have some people from there in our audience here. Thank you for joining the panel. Then on the very left, we have Priyanka Dutta Passeker. She's from Austria. She has many hats. On one side, she's a co-founder of Hialiva. They are personal wound care. It's a personal wound care company. And as well, she's a managing director of Neurolentech GmbH, this company advancing neurodevelopment drug discovery. She has 15 years or even more experience and in biotech and AI-driven healthcare solution. And she's a passionate person when it comes to Female Leaders Network. And we share together that she's a venture partner in our fund, in the Alvicus Invest Fund. That's what I'm running. I'm a GP at the Alvicus Invest Fund. So great to have her also on my expert board. And in the middle, we have Marina. She's a late joiner. I just received the notification that she's going to join us yesterday evening about 6 o'clock or so. So we had to squeeze a little bit the questions, but yeah, I'm sure we can manage it. Marina, she's a CEO of Leadership Alliance Advisory. They are specializing in top management, performance, and leadership development. She's a board member of Swiss Institution of Directors and a member of the Marshall Goldsmiths 100 Coaches Group. Before, she was also part of the Swiss Re and the PwC management and also coaching board, and she's passionate about fostering diverse leadership. She mentors future leaders and drives impactful organization change. And we shared that we met last year here in Davos at the Quantum FI, so it's a little bit of a personal group. And last one, and not the most important one, it's me. I'm a general partner from Alvicus Invest Fund. We invest in women-led tech companies in the DACH region. And yeah, we are always looking out for amazing venture partners, experts, and of course startups which need investments. So let's dive into the topics. The panel is structured, as I mentioned initially, in 3 sections. So looking a little bit into the past, then see what kind of products have been developed or could be developed based on the experience, and then, of course, the advices. Um, Christina, starting with you. You have been part of global organization. You're now a GP founder, so a GP of a fund. So, what, in your experience, can the baby boomers, which are sooner or later leaving companies, give to the next generation of leaders? What's your experience on that?
Yeah, very good question. Thanks, Manuel. So, for me, the baby boomer generation was the first generation that broadly entered the workplace. And I would say that in itself is already a legacy. When I started in Hoffmann Le Roche, the majority of the management teams were all men. And 30 plus years later, when I look now, there is really a good mix of women in management teams and leadership positions, up to the CEO of pharma, who is also a woman. And I think obviously when you have more women in leadership positions, that also empowers other women to then take on a career, and I think you can motivate them and coach them and so on. So, and for me, that also means that as you have more women in leadership positions, we also have brought a different leadership style. I think the leadership style of women is more inclusive, and we know that diversity and inclusion is not something that is sexy from an HR perspective, but it's really something that contributes to hard business results and has economic value. So, you know, what I can say is, are we as women leaders where we want to be? No, but I do believe that over the last 30 years we've made good strides.
Okay, great. So now, since you mentioned that the baby boomers are leaving, so there is the next career step or career section of your life.
Yeah.
How or what can you contribute in this sense?
Yeah, you know, I think baby boomers are now leaving, and I think given many of us have worked, we're not going to sit at home and do the knitting, right? Or only play with our grandchildren. I think there is much more that we can do. And I also do feel that we have a responsibility to make a contribution to society and also make a contribution to basically also making business a better world. Whether that is in philanthropy and voluntary work, whether that is through coaching and mentoring of the next generation of leaders, or whether it's also through supporting startups that are founded by women, because again, the startups, that's the economy of our future. So the way I see it is like, you know, an ocean is made out of many drops, and I think every step counts. And so I think, as you said, Manuel, what I've done, I've set up a fund focusing on education for women, making sure there is equality, helping and making, contributing with my share. And I do believe that society in the future will rely more on voluntary work because governmental budgets are really very tight and pockets are empty. So I think there is quite some things that I think we can do and where we make an impact. And if it's not us who do it, who will, you know?
That's good to hear how, let's say, from the internal perspective, someone which was working in a large organization, how you transformed. So now I'd like to ask Marina, because you are the advisor to the large corporations. So how did you see that executive people like changed, or what's the potential influence from women leaders, how they can drive culture? So how did you advise them over time?
I mean, I've definitely seen a shift, and again, this is my somewhat limited perspective, so maybe I was just lucky to work with clients like this, but I've seen a shift on leadership teams that when I talk to male CEOs or male executives in general, it's not anymore that they want women so that they meet the quota or that, you know, because it's a sexy thing, as you say, you know, they want them because they know it will make them better. And those who have women on board, whether it's board or executive team, they see that right away, right? And so my work has been actually really focusing not so much on educating them that that's a good thing. Again, my limited perspective, I don't think it's generally across the board the case, unfortunately. It is more on amplifying our voices once we do have the seat. Like what I've observed in my work is we get the seat, but then once we have the seat, we don't quite not know what to do with it. We don't always feel so comfortable to use our voice. And that's where the inclusion piece comes into place. Like, okay, yeah, we're there, but how are we actually really leveraging, and how is the company really leveraging that to really drive results? Because if there's no inclusion, there's no benefit in diversity, right? And so my work has been revolving around that. So I work both with leadership teams as collective, as well as with individual executives and CEOs. And so I've been doing work on dual fronts around kind of aligning and realigning what are the values of this team and some of the principles that leave some room for, you know, a different perspective, right, and different way of operating. And at the same time working with, you know, but particularly new female leaders in C-suite on really amplifying their voice. Because I have CEO often telling me, hey, I have so-and-so there, she's absolutely the most instrumental person on my board, but I need her to use that voice. I want to see her more visible in that room, because if she doesn't, others will take the space, and that's kind of what happens, right? And so that's been what I've seen in this field as of late in terms of we struggle a little bit more. Again, I'm generalizing a little bit here, but I'm hoping it's helpful from what I see in my work. We struggle with taking, you know, with visibility. We struggle with, you know, just taking the spotlight. Sometimes, you know, women are generally speaking very giving and generous, and we feel like it's an egoistic thing to do. So it's not entirely comfortable, but as leaders, we need to take the spotlight. In fact, when I work with leaders, I always tell them it's your duty to take the spotlight. You don't take it for egoistic reasons. You take it because there's a team behind you. There's an organization behind you that needs you. There is the gender behind you that needs you to actually use that voice and that seat and that place once you have it. So that's been what I've seen.
So based on your experience, because you're not only in healthcare, next to Christina and Priyanka, you saw different industries. Do you see different approaches in healthcare organizations compared to others, or is your experience, let's say, quite industry agnostic?
It's industry agnostic, but that doesn't mean it's the same across the board. I've seen differences within healthcare, right? Depending on, you know, we obviously have very different cultural heritages with some of the big pharma companies. And so there's big differences in terms of the corporate culture and values. And those could either play in our favor or not, right? And so some of the companies that you know, I help and I support, for example, struggle with, you know, having a culture that is a very nice culture. Like, we don't really speak our mind, you know, so it's like there's a lot of coaching going on the speak up culture, and like the beauty and the value of having conflict, you know, and having a different opinion. And I think the more you have that culture, that works in our favor, because that means that you're actually embracing diversity, that you're welcoming a different point of view. But if you have a culture where we're used to kind of like all agreeing and then really disagreeing in a small room in the back on a one-on-one basis, that doesn't help, right? And so the more we can see of that diverse perspectives and healthy dialogue and conflict, even constructive conflict happening more in the open, maybe not publicly, but I'm speaking now of boards and leadership teams, it helps with also, you know, gender diversity.
All right, that's a very interesting perspective from the outside. So now asking Priyanka, you're the startup founder, have to navigate fast, always tackle new challenges. So do you find time to also create for future leaders an environment, and how do you make that?
So I would say, of course, as a startup entrepreneur, the founder, of course you would love to give back as well. So that has been my initiative as well. Of course, you need to organize yourself with all the startups I'm involved with. But same time, like example, I'll give you. After I finished my MBA from the VU Executive Academia, we felt also, as coming from outside, that there were so little or so less C-level people or CEOs in Austria, example. And we said, why it's so? Like, why don't there are more women in leadership position? And we said, okay, we should do something about it. And we created a female leaders network in Austria. And the idea was just between 4 friends. We just started with it. And the VU, the Executive Academia, supported us. And right now, we are the biggest in Europe. We are backed by Forbes, Novartis, others. And the main idea was to coach, mentor C-level or the females in executive position to get the CEO positions. And kind of challenging them, why are you not taking it? Why are you not taking that step? Because you do so much things together. As an entrepreneur, you are kind of doing multiple things. Why not this step easily taken away from a woman? But when it's given to a man, they don't even say no to it. And we felt it sometimes women step back because they want to be perfect and they want to do it very, you can say, almost like not failure, but make it successful story. And that's what we felt. And we said, what can we do? Can we navigate them? Can we help them, give them mentors? So we also run, example, a Mentor for You program for the younger generation to come in and, of course, get trained. I do entrepreneurship program with the Trinity College Dublin, where I did my doctoral degree. And there also the idea is to, again, get younger entrepreneurs to be motivated and open up and say, okay, I take the challenge, I become entrepreneur. So that's the idea. But I also, of course, try to create the network around. So example, I'm part of the EY entrepreneur group, example, women group. Their idea is to exchange informally, that of course the challenges between us and also kind of help others, again, in formal setting and making sure that we get more executive C-level women in future as well.
That's
If I can add to that, because first of all, I love how you said it started small among 4 friends. All great stories always started like it was somewhere in the basement, 2 friends having a bottle of wine, and that's
how it started, actually.
Yeah. I love that, just as a inspiration, you know, and coming back to like coaching women to take the C-suite. One of the challenges that I see is, and it's actually same for men and women, it's just a little bit, I see it more amplified when I'm coaching a woman rather than a man, is as you rise up the ladder, right? And I'm talking now about the corporate world, but I think it's the same in the startup world. From a certain scale, it's pretty much the same. You rise up the corporate ladder, most leaders don't understand that doing great work is not enough. Like, at a certain level, it becomes a leadership conversation. And it becomes also, I'm going to say this, it's highly controversial, a visibility and a positioning conversation. I'm not talking personal branding in a very superficial way. I'm talking, you need to put equal amount of thought into doing great work as you put into how do I need to communicate this? Who does this need to go to?
For me, it's do great things and talk about them.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
You need both.
You need both. And the higher up you go, the more you need to talk, the less you need to do. And women, again, I'm coaching men on this as well, so it's not women exclusive. Because we all get successful because we are experts. So we struggle to let go of our expert domain, which is absolutely necessary if we want to go up, especially, I mean, if you're a CEO, you're not an expert anymore. You have a team of experts. That's not your job, right? And so the higher up you go, the more you need to talk, the less you need to do. And most women struggle with that. They still want to do.
Yeah. But they don't want to talk about it.
They don't want to talk about it. Yeah. And that's where the challenge is, right? And that's where the work is, I think.
okay. So we already receive very good advice during the discussion. I also want to say on top, you now have, thanks to Christine, also access if you want to go cross-border with your organization to 500 and more C-level people. So I think it's worth to have a chat afterwards.
Yes, definitely.
So let's look a little bit into product and services, because we now talked about organizations and people within the organization. So for you, Marina, what and how can innovation be implemented within organizations through these leadership activities? So especially when it comes to innovation, also patient experience as an example in healthcare, to focusing product and services. What's your experience on that? Also learning here from other industries.
Yeah. So one thing that I've seen, and it's not an exhaustive answer to your question, but I'll just offer a perspective. One thing that I've seen, and I've seen it in healthcare because of the complexity of stakeholders, with patients, with planet, with employees, with shareholders, and all of that. Also, like doctors. So there's like a really complex, I think, stakeholder landscape in healthcare. And a very sensitive one. But also beyond that, one thing that I've seen that kind of speaks to what we just talked about, connecting to that story, is we've seen that for organizations, their ability to really share their message and mission and communicate depends very much on, like, it's shifting, and that's where the innovation piece comes into play. It's more and more about making it very authentic and making it very human. So we're seeing organizations putting really their leaders in the spotlight and actually needing to do that in order for their message to come across as authentic, right? And one example that we see of that is, of course, the employer branding, right? And we hear over and over, companies telling us, wow, the post we made with that one employee simple video, like, went through the roof, because that's what people care about. People buy from people, people trust people, These days, if a candidate is looking whether or not they want to work for you, they don't go on your website anymore. They go and research the CEO, they research the C-suite. So they want to know, hey, are they really living these values that they're promoting? And I think this is really a big shift, Manuel, that a lot of companies haven't really adapted to, like they're still catching up. And that's where my work also is, in basically coaching them and saying, hey, actually your organization needs you to do this. You are the face of the organization. You need to, as a leader, it's part of your job description actually to do that.
Okay. So I understand it's not about the product and services and clients. It's also about the branding, how you position yourself, learning from other industries, how they do good. And that's how you also can create products which are really created for the clients.
Exactly. I mean, putting the human in the center stage, because that's what creates trust. And from that trust, you can create, products and services and build, whatever you need to build. But I think that sort of authenticity and trust element is becoming key, and is becoming impossible to build through traditional means of marketing and PR. No one really, pardon my French, buys into that anymore, right? It's okay. But we are we became much more sophisticated, right? As consumers, as candidates, as investors, and so that's shifting.
Okay. So now asking Christina, because I think you drove a lot of change in your organizations. Can you share some example or one specific example you remember with us?
Yeah, I can. So I worked in the business of patient safety. And you can imagine, for a pharma company, that is paramount. If your medicine isn't safe, you don't have a drug and you don't have a company. And so, it was my vision and also the mandate of my leadership team to say, no matter where you are, as a woman or also as a man on this planet, whether you live in Argentina or Switzerland or the Philippines, you should have the same access to adequate, up-to-date, and accurate safety information. Because there were many, many questions out there from patients, specifically about the safety of our medicines. And so there were very specific questions from women, for example, questions related to childbearing potential. Can they take our medicine? Are there potentially contraindications and so on? So I think for us, that was, I think, a great example where clearly we focused on female health, and we said, okay, what is it that we can do to specifically contribute and help patients and help women?
Okay. So you have been, let's say, the manager. Now let's ask the entrepreneur, Bianca. How do you see digitalization and new technologies in your field to tackle these problems with patient-focused solution services?
Yeah, maybe I'll go very specific to the, some examples, the companies either I co-founded or I'm involved with. So, of course, my own company in Switzerland, which is called Haliva, and in nutshell, we actually take a hair follicle of a patient and we make skin. And it is just
Here we do, huh?
that's what the skin look like, 1 centimeter skin. So we really do personalized therapy. And this is mainly the skins are going to the wound care. So mainly chronic wound care patient, ulcers, extreme ulcers like venous leg ulcers, diabetic foot ulcers. And of course, on that area, we are very much passionate because, of course, this is the cutting edge and this is the next generation. We want to have a personalized therapy, precision medicine, but making sure, again, the safety of the patient. So, of course, our product is made from patient to patient, goes to patient, so full safe. There is no rejection for the patients as well. And, of course, the most important is that what we make sure is we replace surgery. So that's the one example of personalized and the therapy. But digital side, I'm one of the advisors in the Austrian company called Tilia Health. What they are doing is they are integrating AI, machine learning, to very old-style psychiatric disorders where you write kind of the forms, and they replaced it with a gamified version. So it's very simple to use, it's on time, and it's also very important because psychiatric or depression patient, they do not have, first of all, the mindset to fill in form after 2 weeks how they felt. So if they have regular exchanges, it's much easier, faster, and you get also response very much faster as well. And then there another company I want to mention, it's Juvion Life Sciences, an EPFL spin-off, where I'm also on the board. And what we are doing is we are using, again, AI, but we screen for natural supplement for aging. So again, this is exciting times because we can integrate precision medicine, AI, but same time, think about what patient need. So we can make the therapy exactly for the patient need, but also using the big data and utilizing that to create better drugs.
Okay, great. So thank you for bringing some real examples to the stage. So now we want to have some time for the question as well. I ask one question for everyone, and we start with you, Priyanka. So all the same question. What is your advice you like to give to future leaders? In the audience here or also online?
So I would say, as an entrepreneur, just do it. Don't think about it. You will, of course, shape your project, your company when you walk. So just don't talk, but walk the talk. And I would say also create the network around it, around yourself with the great entrepreneurs. Talk to people. Don't hide your idea, but talk about it. Because what I've seen is when you try to hide and say, okay, there is IP, I will not talk about it, that does not go anywhere. When you talk about it, everybody knows and it goes much faster. So I would say, of course, authenticity of the leaders comes from home. So of course, we should create the environment from home to, of course, help women especially to get into entrepreneurs or kind of the lead any position. So I would say also, of course, create the environment around us. This is most important, and start from home.
Okay. Thank you very much. Marina, your advice?
I almost want to go back to what you just mentioned before. Is like, remember, it always starts small. All great things always started small, because I think when we're just starting, whatever it is, whether we're starting on a corporate path or we're starting on a startup path, it just looks like such a long way to go. And it's easy to get discouraged. And at the same time, everyone always started there, and a lot of people have gotten pretty far. So remembering that and remembering that doing great work is not enough. Like, do great work, but also, put your talent into positioning that work.
Okay. Christina, I know you have many advice, so maybe just one.
I'm going to
Too short.
Just two quotes, and I think they are self-explanatory. One is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah. And the second one, don't chase success, decide to make a difference, and success will find you. And that's when you will shine, and that is when others will see you shine, and new opportunities will come.
Thank you very much for all the amazing advice. So we have 2 minutes left for some questions. I don't know, can we take questions also from the online audience, or do we have someone here
I don't think
have a question?
I
No?
think online. But any questions from you, ladies? No.
Can you make some advices as for the life balance between professional activity and family life?
Personally, the best advice I can give is just choose the right partner. I think with the right partner, balance. Yes, everything is possible. It's not impossible without. But, you know, if you're at the point of choosing a partner, choosing the right partner makes a great difference. If that's not your circumstance and your choice, then build an ecosystem. You can't do it alone, I think. And so really, us women, we're not great at asking for help, myself included. I'm terrible at that. And so, like, really, I had to learn how to ask even my friends for help, you know. And we actually, each one of us probably has great people around us, but we don't really leverage that. We don't understand how to tap into that support system that we have around us. So really tapping into and building an ecosystem makes all the difference in the world.
Thank you very much, Marina. So we literally made it on point. So Priyanka, thank you very much for being here in Davos. Marina, also for late joining the panel, and also Christina to be part of this. Thank you very much. And have a good afternoon.
Yes.